Irony of fortune is a curious thing, a quiet twist in life where what seems worthless or even humiliating at first reveals itself to be the very source of transformation. The story of the poor man who received a dying horse from a wealthy millionaire embodies this irony in the most striking manner. To understand the depth of it, one must first consider the circumstances of the gift. The millionaire was not driven by generosity but by mockery. His intention was not to improve the poor man's condition but to deepen his misery with a false sense of charity. The horse, weak and sickly, seemed incapable of labor, of carrying loads, or even of survival. In the eyes of the wealthy man, the horse symbolized failure, decay, and futility. By handing it over to someone who already lived on the edge of poverty, he was, in his own sense of humor, giving the poor man nothing more than another burden. The villagers too saw it as a joke, laughing at the poor man's misfortune, confirming their belief that fate itself was against him. Yet it is here, in this exact moment of ridicule, that the irony begins to weave itself silently. The poor man, unlike those around him, did not see the horse as an added curse. For him, even a dying animal had dignity and value. He did not mock it or cast it aside as useless, because he understood what it meant to be dismissed, to be considered unworthy by society. His own life had been one long struggle of being overlooked, and so his compassion extended naturally to the frail creature placed in his hands. Where others saw weakness, he saw a companion. Where others saw decay, he saw the possibility of care. And thus, the irony of fortune first takes root not in some sudden miracle, but in the humble attitude of the poor man who refuses to echo the cruelty of those who laugh at him. This irony grows sharper when one realizes that the horse, though frail and fading in appearance, carried within it a hidden value unknown to the giver. Beneath the weak body and tired eyes was a history that stretched back to champions, a lineage worth more than gold. The rich man, who prided himself on his knowledge of wealth and property, had failed to notice it. He was blinded by arrogance, dismissing the creature by its outward state without pausing to see the deeper truth. Irony often flourishes in such blindness, where those who believe themselves clever fall prey to their own shallow judgment. The poor man, who had no expertise in breeding or racing, simply cared for the animal as best he could. He did not know at first what lay hidden, but his sincerity led him to discover what arrogance had missed. This reversal is central to the irony. The man who had everything overlooked the treasure, and the man who had nothing found himself holding more than he ever dreamed. The villagers who mocked the poor man also play a role in this irony. They laughed, pointing fingers at the absurdity of a destitute man accepting a dying horse. They thought it would drag him further into despair, that it would serve as proof of his perpetual poverty. Their laughter, however, soon turned into silence when news spread that the horse carried a noble brand, one tied to legendary bloodlines. The same people who had ridiculed him began to look at him with respect, curiosity, even envy. Their judgment, like that of the millionaire, was proven false by the unexpected turn of events. This public shift adds to the richness of the irony, for it demonstrates how quickly perception changes when hidden worth comes to light. The man they mocked became the man they admired, and all because of what they had once scorned. Irony of fortune is not only in the discovery of hidden value but also in the moral inversion it creates. The wealthy man, secure in his status, is revealed as the fool who gave away a priceless asset. The poor man, burdened by struggle, emerges as the unlikely possessor of wealth and honor. This shift is not simply about money, it is about the deeper truth that worth is not always visible, that true value often lies beneath the surface. The horse itself becomes a living symbol of this truth, a creature underestimated and dismissed, yet carrying within it the seeds of transformation. What was mocked as useless turns out to be the key to changing the course of a man's life. This is the very essence of irony, that what was meant to diminish becomes the very thing that elevates. There is also a profound lesson here about perspective. The irony would never have come to fruition if the poor man had treated the horse as a curse. If he had abandoned it, neglected it, or resented it, the hidden treasure would have remained hidden. The irony unfolds because of his willingness to accept what others rejected, to give care where others gave scorn. Fortune often favors not merely those who stumble upon opportunities but those who are prepared in heart and spirit to recognize them. The millionaire handed over the horse with laughter, expecting nothing but entertainment at another's misery, yet the poor man's quiet compassion turned that joke into a turning point. It is almost as if fate itself delights in these reversals, rewarding humility and punishing arrogance through the most unexpected means. The irony deepens when one considers the millionaire's reaction upon learning the truth. He had given the horse away in jest, but when he realized the registration of its lineage, he was struck with disbelief. The wealth he had dismissed was now out of his reach, transferred irrevocably into the hands of the man he mocked. His pride suffered more than his purse, for it is one thing to lose money, and quite another to be outwitted by someone considered beneath him. The poor man did not set out to defeat him or expose his folly, yet the mere unfolding of events revealed the cracks in his arrogance. Irony works in such ways, not through deliberate vengeance but through the natural turning of life's wheel, where arrogance stumbles upon its own blindness. The irony of fortune in this tale is not restricted to the individuals involved. It speaks to a larger truth about society and human judgment. How often do people dismiss what appears weak, useless, or dying, without pausing to consider the unseen worth beneath? How often are individuals ridiculed or cast aside, only to later reveal strength, talent, or significance that changes everything? The dying horse represents all that is overlooked and underestimated, and the poor man represents those who, despite hardship, hold on to compassion and patience. The millionaire and the mocking villagers symbolize the arrogance of shallow judgment, a reminder that wealth and social standing do not guarantee wisdom. Thus, the irony is not only personal but universal, echoing through every context where hidden value lies beneath an unworthy appearance. What makes this irony so compelling is its quiet inevitability. No divine intervention descends from the heavens, no sudden miracle alters the laws of nature. Instead, the irony emerges from the natural unfolding of events, from human attitudes and choices. The horse was always of noble lineage, it was merely hidden beneath illness and age. The poor man was always compassionate and humble, he simply had not been given the chance for his virtues to bear fruit. The millionaire was always arrogant and careless, his downfall came not from chance but from his own blindness. Irony here is not magic but the natural revelation of truth, the peeling away of illusions to expose what was always there. This makes it all the more powerful, for it suggests that life itself contains such reversals waiting to be uncovered. When one reflects deeply on this irony of fortune, it also becomes a meditation on the nature of wealth. The millionaire measured wealth only in visible power and possession, dismissing what looked weak. The poor man discovered wealth not through seeking it but through kindness and care, and in that discovery, he gained both material fortune and moral stature. The villagers, swayed by appearances, shifted their opinions with the changing tide, revealing how shallow their understanding of value truly was. The horse, standing quietly amidst it all, embodied the paradox, dying in body yet rich in legacy. The irony of fortune thus challenges every assumption about what it means to be rich or poor, valuable or worthless. The twist of fate in this tale begins with something that looks almost cruel in its delivery, for no one would expect that a dying horse could ever serve as the instrument of prosperity. The poor man did not ask for this animal, nor did he imagine that it could offer him anything more than trouble. The millionaire, smug in his wealth and superiority, had meant to deliver a humiliation, a mockery that would draw laughter from those who watched. The villagers, with their eyes quick to judge and tongues quicker still, treated the incident as entertainment, pointing out the absurdity of a man with so little being given a horse that could barely stand. Yet fate works in a way that escapes human planning, for what begins as humiliation slowly unfolds into triumph. This is the very heart of the twist. The poor man, expected to suffer further misfortune, is instead lifted to a position of respect and abundance, not through his own cunning or manipulation but by the strange and unpredictable turnings of life itself. At first, the horse truly appears to be nothing more than a burden. Its body is weak, its eyes dull, its step unsteady. No one would think it capable of labor, and certainly not of running, competing, or carrying loads that could bring in profit. For the poor man, who struggled each day to make ends meet, the thought of feeding such a creature must have been daunting, for fodder itself cost money, and every mouth to feed was a strain. Yet he could not abandon it. The poor often understand that survival is not only about practicality but also about heart. He treated the horse with patience, tending to it carefully, showing compassion even when others saw foolishness. In this choice, though he did not know it, he aligned himself with the quiet workings of fate. For twists of destiny often reveal themselves only to those who endure, who do not cast aside what seems worthless, who hold on long enough for truth to surface. The twist begins to sharpen when the horse's hidden lineage comes into play. Beneath its frail exterior, the animal carries a mark of heritage, a symbol of greatness lost to the careless eyes of its former owner. The millionaire, with all his riches and stable full of fine steeds, overlooked it because he judged solely by appearance. To him, what mattered was youth, strength, beauty, and the immediate promise of profit. He saw none of that in the old creature and thus dismissed it. This blindness is crucial, for fate delights in exposing arrogance. The poor man, without wealth or power, does not have the knowledge to recognize this lineage immediately, but his care keeps the horse alive long enough for the truth to be discovered. The irony is sharp. The man who was given the horse as a joke ends up holding a treasure, while the man who gave it away loses something priceless because of his own shallow judgment. The twist of fate deepens with the act of registration. In the world of racing and breeding, lineage is everything. A horse may not be able to race anymore, but if its bloodline is tied to champions, its value does not diminish. Breeders seek to continue greatness, to extend the line of glory through generations. By registering the horse, the poor man transforms what was once seen as dying into something official, recognized, and valuable. This act shifts the perception of the entire village. The villagers who once mocked him now look at him with awe. The man they pitied becomes the man they envy. His name, once whispered with laughter, is now spoken with respect. Such is the power of a twist of fate. It turns not only the circumstances of an individual but the collective gaze of society, revealing how quickly people's attitudes shift when fortune reveals its hidden hand. The twist is not only about wealth but about dignity. For a poor man, the struggle is not just to survive but to maintain a sense of worth in a world that constantly undermines him. Poverty strips away not only material comfort but also social standing, making one vulnerable to ridicule and dismissal. The millionaire's joke was a reinforcement of this social imbalance, an attempt to remind the poor man of his place. But the twist of fate breaks this balance entirely. By elevating the horse through its registration, fate elevates the man himself. He is no longer just a struggling laborer, he is now the owner of something rare and respected. This shift restores dignity not only in the eyes of others but in his own. He walks differently, not with arrogance, but with the quiet assurance that life has acknowledged his perseverance. There is a larger symbolic resonance in this twist. The horse, frail yet noble, represents all that is hidden beneath surfaces. Society often judges by what it sees immediately: strength, beauty, wealth, youth. Anything outside these standards is dismissed. But fate, in its mysterious design, uses precisely what is dismissed to overturn expectations. The poor man, in his care for the horse, becomes the vessel through which this revelation is made. His patience allows the truth of the animal's lineage to emerge. In this way, the twist is not random luck but a kind of cosmic justice, rewarding compassion and exposing arrogance. The millionaire, for all his control, cannot manipulate this outcome. Fate slips through the cracks of his power, showing that no amount of wealth can guarantee true foresight. The beauty of the twist of fate is how it humbles and elevates simultaneously. The millionaire, once laughing, is humbled. The poor man, once ridiculed, is elevated. The villagers, once mocking, are silenced. It is as though life rearranges the roles, placing each person where they truly belong, not according to their status but according to their character. The poor man did not seek revenge or plot against the millionaire, he simply accepted what was given to him and did his best. The millionaire did not intend to lose anything, he simply gave away what he considered useless. Yet the outcome reverses their positions entirely. This is the essence of fate's twist. It arrives unplanned, unnoticed, often hidden in the very things we dismiss. What makes this twist so powerful is its permanence. Once the horse is registered, the truth is sealed. No amount of regret from the millionaire can undo it. No laughter from the villagers can erase it. The poor man's life is changed irrevocably. Fate, once it turns, does not return the world to its previous state. This is why such stories resonate deeply, because they remind us that fortunes can change in ways we cannot predict, that humiliation can transform into honor, that what seems final may only be the beginning of a greater revelation. The twist is not simply a change of wealth, it is a change of destiny, of how one is seen, of how one sees oneself. The twist also contains a moral challenge. The poor man, now lifted by fate, faces choices. Wealth can corrupt as much as it can heal. The villagers, quick to shift their loyalties, may now surround him with flattery instead of scorn. The millionaire, humiliated, may attempt to reclaim his pride through schemes or offers. Fate provides the opportunity, but how one responds to it determines whether the twist leads to true growth or merely another cycle of arrogance. The horse, with its frailty and nobility, continues to stand as a reminder that what matters most is not the appearance of strength but the presence of hidden worth. In this way, the twist of fate extends beyond the story itself into a meditation on human life. How many times do people cast aside relationships, opportunities, or responsibilities because they appear burdensome or unprofitable, not realizing that within them lies a treasure waiting to be revealed? How often does society mock those who struggle, only to later marvel when they succeed? The story of the poor man and the horse captures this timeless truth, showing that fate often hides its gifts in disguise, waiting for patience, humility, and compassion to uncover them.